Good evening, and welcome to the City of Ridgefield's virtual town hall. We're extremely pleased that you have all logged in this evening as we meet the finalist candidates for the open city council seat. I'm John McDonough and will be moderating this evening's town hall. As we begin, I have a few comments about how the evening will proceed and ground rules for the event. Only the candidates and I will have access to our microphones. Those of you in attendance will have access to the video and to the chat feature, which you'll find in the navigation bar at the bottom of your screen. The questions we will begin with this evening have been submitted by residents of Ridgefield. Some of the questions have been combined as they dealt with very similar or the same subject. If you have questions you would like to submit during the panel discussion, you may do so in the chat feature I referred to a minute ago. Please remember, the question must be one all candidates would be able to address, and if time allows, we will use as many of those questions as we can. If we are not able to use those questions this evening, they will be provided to the City Council for their consideration or use later in this process. The candidates will not be following the chat, so please refrain from attempting to utilize the chat to contact the candidates during the town hall. I will be addressing questions to the candidates in rotation so that each candidate has the opportunity to answer a question first. I will also be repeating the question for each candidate for clarity. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their response. With that, thank you again for attending. Let's meet the candidates. I've asked each candidate to introduce themselves and provide any information they would like you and the council to have. Each candidate will have 1 minute. And Matt, let's begin with you.
Sounds good. Thank you, John. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Matt Cole. I'm one of the 4 candidates here tonight for City Council, and I'm just thrilled to be able to share the stage tonight and share in a short minute about myself, who I am, and why I'm seeking this appointment. First and foremost, I'm a dad. I'm a dog owner, I'm a baseball coach, and I've owned a business here in Clark County for the better part of 10 years. And when my family moved to Ridgefield about 5 years ago, we realized this was our home and we just love every minute of it. So recently I've gotten more involved with the city. I spent last year working on the budget advisory committee with the city. I got to help plan the budget. I'm currently a member of the planning commission, and my kids think this is the best one of volunteer effort. I'm also on the mosquito control board. They seem to think that I get to tell the mosquitoes when and where to be, but that's not how it works. But for anyone who lives here, regardless of how long, you'll know what a great community we have and what thrilling challenges and opportunities lie ahead of us with the tremendous growth we've experienced. And I would love to be more involved in steering that growth, making sure that we manage it properly. We're in a critical phase of our growth plan over the next 15 years, and it's going to take more great leadership. We have been really blessed with great leadership so far, but I would love to be a part of that process and help steer policy and steer, where the city goes over the next 10 to 15 years. So I'm looking forward to meeting all of you, sharing a little bit about myself tonight, and again, thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Matt. Katie, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, John. My name is Katie Favela. I live here in Ridgefield and have for over 10 years with my husband and our 2 children. I'm pretty involved within the community. I'm the booster parent representative for the Ridgefield High School football team. Go Spuds. I have participated on the Equity and Engagement Board for the Ridgefield School District. My husband and I are a host family for the Ridgefield Raptors, welcoming our Raptors player into our city. In my professional life, I am a social worker and therapist. So I really come with this unique perspective of community health and what does that look like to have a healthy community, and really invested in the infrastructure that we can build in Ridgefield with the growth and being able to support the businesses, the families, and the schools. I'm really excited to be here and looking forward to the conversations tonight.
Thank you, Katie. Jake, would you like to go next, please?
Sure will, John. Thank you. Good evening, Richfield. I'm Jake Bredstrand, and I'm humbled to be here with you tonight. I'm incredibly excited to have the opportunity to serve as a council member for the city of Ridgefield. I'm a Southwest Washington native and Washington State University alumnus. A few years ago, I bought my first house here in Ridgefield. It was one of the greatest decisions I've ever made. My wife and I plan to raise a family here. We enjoy the unique collection of wildlife, trails, and agriculture. Ridgefield has a historic charm and appeal that cannot be matched. My hope is to be an advocate of maintaining and enhancing everything that makes this place so special. I'm active locally as a HOA board director, Ridgefield Parks board member, Raptors season ticket holder, and I also pour a little beer for Ridgefield Craft Brewing on the side. My leadership experience is vast. I served WSU as a student regent appointed by Governor Gregoire. I was also the student body president for WSU Pullman. I worked a decade in higher education fundraising roles and currently enjoy a work from home sales managerial career. My volunteer experience has also included time on boards with Alaska Airlines and the Foundation for Washington Future Farmers of America. I look forward to sharing my qualifications and desires to serve you, the city of Ridgefield. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Excuse me. Thank you, Jake. Darcy, would you please?
All right. Thank you, John. It's really nice to be here this evening and be able to speak to all of you. Great to be able to meet the other candidates before I start myself. So nice to see all of you. I've lived in the Northwest for over 30 years and in Ridgefield for the past 5.5 years. I recently retired from Clark College as the Vice President of Human Resources. And prior to that, I was there for about 8 years. Prior to that, I've been an educator, everything from a teacher, a principal, a superintendent, and other positions at central office. It's great to be retired so I can finally spend some time investing in my community, which is what I really am interested in doing. I am on the salary commission for the city. I also am on my HOA board, and I have been a host family for the Raptors twice before. So Katie, you will love it. It was a great experience, and I have season tickets to the games as well. I'm looking forward to being a part of this challenging time, preserving the history and the wonderful things about Ridgefield at the same time as we kind of shepherd the city into the future.
Thank you, Darcy. Now we'll move to the first question of the evening. Again, each of you will have 2 minutes to respond, which will allow us to get through the host of questions that we have to share with the attendees tonight. Jake, we'll begin with you for the first question. And remember that you have 2 minutes. What interests you most about serving on the city council?
Thanks, John. That's an easy question, and I appreciate it because I just love the city. I've said in my application, and I've told a lot of people about this opportunity. Simply put, I love Ridgefield, Washington. I've always cared about being a part of my community, whether it was Pullman, Washington, which is college town, USA, and getting to serve 14,000 undergraduates as a student body president was the experience of a lifetime. And when I go back to Pullman, I feel like I'm at home. And being from Southwest Washington, I loved growing up in Vancouver. It's growing, it's huge. It's a different beast than where we are here today. And like I said in my opening remarks, moving to Ridgefield is one of the best decisions I've ever made. I think we have a historic charm and community aspect that just doesn't exist in communities these days, especially here in this Portland metro market. We have something special and I really want to preserve it. My resume and leadership experience, like I said, is vast, and I've sat at the table many, many times. I know how to bring quality ideas. I know how to build relationships. I know how to connect with people. I think one of the most important parts of being a council member is connecting and listening to others. And pouring beer downtown Ridgefield in our historic little downtown, you get to meet a ton of people, and you get to hear people's wants and needs from the 5th generation family that's lived here for decades to the folks like me who've bought their first home here in Ridgefield. I want to represent all those individuals, and I think I have the skill set and the personality and the leadership traits to do an amazing job. And again, most of all, I just love our community. I love Ridgefield, and I want to serve at the highest level, and I want to be a part of again, maintaining what we have and enhancing in the future.
Thank you, Jake. Katie, what interests you most about serving on the city council?
I feel like most people here, I'm very proud of Ridgefield. I'm proud of our city. I work within the larger community of Clark County and serve on different boards. And I'm always amazed at Ridgefield and the connection and the pride that our residents have here. And with the growth that we're experiencing, we're the fastest growing, one of the fastest growing cities in the state of Washington, and really being able to be a part of hearing from the community and bringing that community perspective in so that we can grow our city, but retain the culture and the history and the pride and our natural resources and all the things that people want to be here in Ridgefield for, including our school district. So just being able to be a part of the larger picture, leaving that footprint for our future generations that are going to live here, and hoping that we can have them enjoy the community as we know it, because we can make it rich and sustainable for them to enjoy. So thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Matt, same question for you. What interests you most about serving on the council?
Yeah, sure. Just to echo the other two candidates so far, I just really love this town. I've bounced around for a few years. I had a former career in the Navy and then the U.S. Navy Reserve. And then you get to kind of live in different areas and do different things there. And I've lived in Northern Washington. I've lived elsewhere. And, it wasn't until my family moved to Ridgefield that we really felt like we were home. And I don't say that lightly, like when you live in other communities. We even lived in East Vancouver and everything. And I love Southwest Washington. I grew up down here. But being able to call someplace home and feeling like that really resonates, a sense of place, I think is really important. And so in that regard, I've just enjoyed getting to know my city over the last few years, seeing what the community is all about, and then, seeing like where we're going and where we're headed. And that's probably the area that I'm probably most interested in. I think that you should serve in areas where you are best equipped to serve, where that matches your skill sets. And this is an area where I think that I would really mesh well, given my leadership ability, my business background, my ability to connect with people and to relate to people. And then most of all, too, I want to be a part of the community building effort that happens here. When we first moved here, it started with attending the 4th of July parade, and then you get to see that, and you get a lot of other people spilling into Ridgefield from other areas. But feeling like this is a Ridgefield thing, and then seeing how what the different communities aspects have been, whether it be with the Raptors, the advent of the YMCA going to be coming here. I mean, even Rosar's coming here was a big community effort, and it brings us all together. And so I want to be a part of that and have a real direct hand in contributing to where that goes and how that shapes where we are in the future.
Thank you. And finally, Darcy, what interests you most about serving?
So many things. I also love this community, and I am very excited about being a bigger part of this community. From the time we moved here, I have been so impressed with all of the things that Ridgefield does to welcome people and to make them really feel like they're a part of the community. From the very beginning, we went to the farm to table dinners. We joined the Friends of the Library and were so excited when the library improvements were made. We've been very involved with the Raptors, of course, and what a wonderful addition to a community. One of the very coolest things is to actually go to those games and just interact with the people. And every time we did that, we would think, wow, this was the right decision to be a part of Ridgefield. So as others have said, I am just interested in being more a part of the community, working as hard as I can to do what needs to be done. I think it was Matt, I can't remember who said, listening to the community. I think that is so important. I think transparency in city government is absolutely critical, and that's something that I truly believe in. So I'm just very interested in being a part of managing this crazy growth and balancing that with protecting the things about this community that we love right now the way it is.
Well, right out of the gate, I can see that the council is going to have a very challenging decision ahead of them with 3 people who are so very excited to call Ridgefield home. Ridgefield's a city of neighborhoods. Next, we'd like to hear, what is it about your neighborhood that attracted you and makes it so that you want to continue living there? Katie, would you get us started with this question?
Absolutely. Thank you. So my husband and I have lived in 2 different neighborhoods in Ridgefield during our over 10 years of being here. In our current neighborhood that we're in the Heron Ridge development, what drew us is just the people, the welcomeness. Even when we came to look at our home, people were excited to see us and meet us and learn about us. And it's a very tight-knit community, but I feel that extends not just in our immediate neighborhood, but outside of our neighborhood, where people are familiar with who's coming and who's going. They're interested in getting to know the people that are next door. And I feel like in the larger community of Clark County, we've really lost that sense of neighboring and getting to know our neighbors and building that connection. And Ridgefield, specifically in my neighborhood, other neighborhoods that I've encountered, it's the same way. Like, people are just excited to get to know each other. And even during COVID, it was kind of like, we're nervous. What do we do? Do we talk to each other? Do we not? And finding ways to even just hang outside and be across the street and be able to talk and just have a beer and hang out with each other like safely. And that was, quite the experience. But people are just so eager to want to be together. And I think that it speaks to the larger Ridgefield of building that community and having people together.
Thank you, Katie. Matt, what is it about your neighborhood that attracted you and makes it so that you want to continue living there?
Can I just steal Katie's answer? Because that was great. No, I've also lived in 2 neighborhoods as well. We lived in Pioneer Canyon when we first moved here, and now we live in Taverner Ridge. And I think love is an understatement of how much I love my neighborhood. The moment we moved here, we knew we're in the right spot. And speaking of that idea of what home is, right? Your neighbors, your neighborhood, who you see every day, those help build community. And in our neighborhood, we have small kids, and in our cul-de-sac that we live in, I think we have something like 13 kids under the age of 13. I see some of my neighbors on the forum here, so they're going to probably correct me later, but we have quite a few kids in our neighborhood. And like, even right now, having a bunch of kids outside riding scooters, playing ball, everything like that, all that activity going along, it's a sound of happiness to me. I love seeing all of that happen. I love the way that there is care put in this neighborhood. Everyone seems to care, not just because the HOA tells them to, but because they genuinely care. Everyone cares about being a good neighbor. And lastly, our house backs up to like part of this green space, and there's trails everywhere. And if you go to any city council meeting, any city event, they will always talk about the trails. And it's no joke around here. I mean, it's so nice to be able to walk out your front door. I know you can go on a different walk every day and see a different part of Ridgefield and just really embrace it and enjoy it. So I really am in love with my community, my neighborhood especially, and that's one of the best parts about calling Ridgefield home.
Great, thank you, Matt. Darcy, what is it about your neighborhood that attracted you and makes it so you want to continue to live there?
I live in Laurel Heights. And when we moved here 5.5 years ago, we were kind of on the edge of the development. Now the area that we live in is like tripled, and it just continues to grow. So it's been fun watching. We are a very mixed neighborhood. We have many young children, and we have senior citizens, and they're all mixed together and all interact together. And I love that. I think that's one of the true values of a neighborhood. I love the trails. Matt, you are absolutely right about that. I was a little disappointed when we first moved in here because I didn't feel like it was a very walkable neighborhood, but that's until I walked out the door and realized that there were trails everywhere. But then when Rosars came in, and I can now walk to the grocery store, I can walk to go get something to eat. It's just an outstanding place to live. And I'm very excited about the opportunity of potentially being able to walk downtown. And I hear, I don't know, maybe that trail already exists. I haven't seen it yet, but I love to walk, and I just think that's one of the true values of this area and this neighborhood. Great people.
Thanks, Darcy. And Jake, you said you bought your first home in Ridgefield.
I did.
What was it about the neighborhood that attracted you and makes you want to continue to live there?
Of course, yeah. So it was, like I said earlier, it was one of the best decisions we've ever made. Committed to Kennedy Farm, and right next door to the schools and the Ridgefield Outdoor Rec Complex. committed before the house was even really going up. And like others have mentioned, we were lucky enough to score a lot on wetland and have a trail right behind us. So it's just special to look out our back window and see this nature that we know is going to be preserved for forever, and to know that we live in a brand new neighborhood with amazing people. Like others have mentioned, we got little kids, we have a retired couple next door. I mean, we have, every type of demographic and background in this neighborhood. So it's just been great. And being part of the HOA now, I've connected with other HOAs and just kind of seeing what other people are going through, as we're a new group. And so that comes with challenges of, we just took over the HOA board duties just in the last few weeks. So yeah, I love the diversity of our neighborhood. I love being able to get to my seats at a Raptors game in about 5 minutes from my door. I appreciate the chance to walk the puppy at the sports complex every day. It's amazing to have that, and to make so much of our outdoors and in our parks. We're just very lucky to have that next door. For the future, being able to have kids walk, a couple hundred yards to the school that I can see out my window. Let's get that bond passed, as we know we are all supporting that. But again, just being part of a brand new neighborhood and being able to get to know a lot of people who are new to Ridgefield. I think that's what this seat needs to be, as an advocate and a welcoming person to all the new residents that are coming to town. And yeah, this is our home, this is our neighborhood, and we're not going anywhere.
Thank you. Matt, you're gonna take the next question on first. Share with us, and you have alluded to much of this previously in your comments, but share with us your involvement in the Ridgefield community, whether that's professional, volunteer, or some other involvement.
Yeah, definitely. Last year, then Mayor Stoss appointed me to the mosquito control board, and I kind of chuckled at that a little bit, and I still do a little bit, just because it sounds so kind of out there. But in the year and a half that I've been doing that, it's been really interesting to see, where, how much all of our communities are interconnected, and how we can help each other out. And we get to talk from people from Camas and Yakult and Vancouver, and everyone's got sharing, and all about mosquitoes, of course. But it's been really interesting to see how communities can be integrated. Ridgefield specifically, I was on the budget advisory committee this last fall, and that was a really fun, interesting way to get involved, to see how the city's planning for our future, how it's managing the city resources and our finances, and just to see when we talk about growth happening here, I mean, it's really no joke, right? The growth here is real, and I think it's going to be something we have to really have to address. But it's really interesting to be a part of as well. I'm also on the planning commission, and I've been on there since about last fall as well. That's been really an eye-opening experience too. It's one of those things where you look and you're like, okay, gosh, every meeting, every time I'm doing meeting prep for that, it's really eye-opening about what goes on, how intricate the planning is here, what all the pieces that have to be coordinated. Aside from those types of things, we're a big baseball family here. I'm a T-ball coach this year, so I appreciate your thoughts and prayers on that one, because I'm going to need it. But also, we're baseball fans. We love to go to the Raptors games, and I also coach a men's baseball team, so that's a way to kind of be involved and feel like you're connected to other people around you. And a lot of our players are from Ridgefield, so it's just another great way to be involved. Anywhere you can do that, and you feel you're passionate about it, that's where I've chosen to be involved and put my time and effort. But those are the main areas for me right now.
Terrific. Thank you, Matt. Darcy, share with us your involvement in the Ridgefield community.
Absolutely. So I am a member of the Salary Commission, and oh, by the way, and I wanted to mention that, Matt, I had no idea we had a mosquito control commission. Did you say committee? Anyway, I think that is very exciting, and I am anxious to learn more about that. But I am on the Salary Commission, and basically what we do is establish the salary for council members and the mayor on a yearly basis. And that's been very interesting. I've done that for 3 years now. When we first moved to Ridgefield, we immediately joined the Friends of the Library, and we're so excited to realize that there was an effort to build a better, more representative library for this community. And so it's been fun to be a part of that. One of ways that I've been involved in this community before I ever even moved here was at Clark College. When there was first talk of a North County campus, I was involved in a lot of the discussion and the planning for where that North Campus might be. And when we found out that it was going to be in Ridgefield, I was very excited. But when we actually moved to Ridgefield and I could drive by the sign that said Clark College campus, it was very exciting. I think that's going to be a tremendous asset to this community. And I actually look forward to either on the council or just as a citizen being involved in that, shepherding the of the community college North Campus. Let's see, what else have I done in this community? As I said before, we hosted baseball players twice. And the first year we had one baseball player, and the second year we had two baseball players. And that was a very unique way to not only kind of be a family for young men that were away from their homes. And so we enjoyed that part of that process, but also just to be a part of something that was really bringing the city of Ridgefield together. Every time we went to a game, it was all the people were there to talk to and to talk about things that were going on and just to enjoy the community together. So that's been a really great way to be a part of this community. I'm on our HOA board, and our board has been—
I need to have you come to a pretty quick conclusion.
Okay, sure can. The HOA board is a great way to get to know your neighborhood. We've had ours for 3 years, and it's a learning experience every day. So that's all.
Thank you. Jake, share with us your involvement with the Ridgefield community.
Certainly. Yeah. I've touched on HOA, we're a brand new board, so that's been an exciting piece to be a part of. Talked about the Parks Board. It's fun to be conversations about, whether it's the water pad at Overlook Park, the splash pad, or the Horns Corner Park that's going to go in next to Rosars. We're just talking about pickleball courts somewhere in town one day, just a few weeks ago. Those conversations are fun to be a part of, and it's been a great way to sit in official capacity for the city. Recently got recruited to Lions, so I'm looking forward to being a part of that group here in the near future. But what I'd shared probably most passionate about, and what's really opened me up to the city the most, is what I mentioned is pouring a little beer part-time for Richfield Craft Brewing. To see a small business thrive like it has throughout COVID, and to see what Steve and Ari have done over these past couple of years, and to be a part of the team has been incredible. My wife and I committed to wanting to work there when he opened up, and we each have our 9-to-5s, and it was just, hey, we're new to this town. We want to be a part of it. He delivers an amazing product. It's a local business, and we just wanted to be there to support him. And so to be there on a Saturday when there's college football on, and there's food carts, and there's musicians, and just that entire community vibe that he's helped bring. I think, we always talk about revitalizing downtown. That's so critical to the growth of Ridgefield. And I know we're doing a lot of things to do that, but to be a part of the small business for a craft beverage that's made here in Ridgefield, I'm just proud to be a part of that. And it's opened up a lot of doors to meeting a lot of great people, first and foremost. And to be a part of 4th of July, Oktoberfest, events like that, and just to be around our citizens. And again, it's been a great chance for me to learn about what people's wants and needs are. And it's something I plan to do for a long time, and to support small business. And I think that's, again, a role of our council, is to be somebody who supports the local businesses here and make sure the economy is thriving here in Ridgefield.
Great. Thank you, Jake. Katie, share with us a little more about your involvement with the city of Ridgefield.
Yes, thank you. So as I stated before, my husband and I, like Darcy, we are host family for the Ridgefield Raptors. We've also hosted since the Raptors have came in. Our first baseball player was actually from Dominican Republic. So it was so fun getting to know his culture and sharing that with our children. Our baseball player from last year just signed, or didn't sign. He's playing for Oregon Ducks. So yay, Tafton. As I said, I'm a therapist and social worker. I have an MOU. I'm a contracted provider with the Ridgefield School District. So very highly involved with families in our community, our staff, our district in general. I work often with the police department as well. One of my tenants is working with Youth Mobile Crisis Intervention. So working closely with our police department, being able to support them and identifying what they need and their support, and how we can bridge together since the laws have changed, and what police are allowed to do in terms of mental health. I have participated on the Equity and Engagement Board for the Ridgefield School District. And then outside in the larger community, which does funnel back to Ridgefield, I'm the System Partner Lead for FISPERT, which is a Family Youth System Partner Roundtable. It's a governance structure of the Children's Behavioral Health Governance Board of the state of Washington. And I'm also on the CLIP committee, which is community partners. We advocate for families regarding substance abuse and mental health, advocating for them in the community to have a child be served in the least restrictive setting, and also review applications for children's long-term inpatient. So community connection, it's where I thrive. And then also, Jake, yes, shout out to Ridgefield Craft for hosting our football auction for the Spuds this year. I'm so thankful for Steve and Ari for helping us out. They're a great support of the community, and I'm so happy to know them.
Thanks, Katie. Downtown Richfield is the historic heart and soul of the city. What is special about downtown, and what role do you see yourself playing, capitalizing on that to promote Ridgefield as a place to be? Darcy, your turn to lead off.
I love downtown Ridgefield. It's the place that we take our guests. Immediately we go down to downtown Ridgefield, and we drive them through the wildlife refuge or walk through the other refuge, but experience that downtown area. From the very beginning of the time that we have been here, we love the hardware store. I go to the hardware store probably at least once or twice a week, and they always have whatever I want, amazingly enough. I love the little grocery store. Before we ever had Rosars, when I found I needed something, I would go down there and they would have it, believe it or not. So it's just an amazing collection of wonderful businesses that know you. They know you're a part of the community. They bend over backwards to help. And so I think that is just such a treasure. I think that there is concern about preserving that small town feel that we have in Ridgefield while we've got all this growth going on. And I know that we've had businesses that have come and gone because they weren't able to bring the customers in to the kinds just to stay in business. So we need to figure that out. And I know that as the community continues to grow, and as we continue to add things like craft brewing, things that are attractions to bring people downtown, I think and the new library, all of those things are going to help bring people downtown. But that's, I think, one of the biggest challenges we face, is making sure that we don't lose that very, very special part of Ridgefield.
Thank you. Jake, what's special about downtown for you, and what role do you see yourself playing in capitalizing that to promote the city?
Yeah, everything's special about that town. I've said it. I think Main Street USA is what I think of when I think of downtown Ridgefield. I think it's not something you find in our world much today. I would argue it's probably the only one of its kind in the Portland metro area. Camas has a great downtown as well. There's just something, there's just that charm that we all know, and we're down there. It feels different. You know, small business owners, the kayak and paddleboard launch, we're down there all the time in the summer. It's like, how cool is it to have that just down the road from us? All that traffic's incredible. I think there's a charm that we all see that's so important that we want to keep. And so while we want to revitalize downtown, we need to drive more traffic down there. Frankly, I think I would argue probably 1 in 2 people in this town maybe haven't even stepped foot in downtown Ridgefield, whether they're commuting to Portland, Vancouver, or just going, down Pioneer and the Rosars complex. I think a lot of our citizens probably haven't spent much time down there. So the more businesses that are down there, the better for everybody. And I think, summer coming up is a great chance to do that. Live music, food carts. I think the carts by the park was an incredible addition. To see the growth down there. I just saw the announcement that sushi's coming there, to have sushi downtown Ridgefield, pretty special. We about lost our minds when we found out Little Conejo was going in, because that's like our favorite restaurant in Vancouver. So that was a huge moment for our family. And then I think just the future, the overpass was an incredible addition, just for the sense of safety and convenience to get people for recreation across the train tracks and down to the water. And I've heard rumors of what's going to go down there, whether it's some residential and more retail and restaurants. That's just exciting. There's so much to offer, and it's so special it is right now. I think we need to do things to drive more traffic, and I think our community events do that. But again, growing, maintaining, and making sure that people are, patroning and going to these businesses so they can survive, especially through these tough times. Thank you.
Thanks, Jake. Katie, how would you take the heart and soul of the city to promote it? What would be your role in promoting it and capitalizing it as a place to be?
Downtown Ridgefield. So my husband and I, our family, we're pretty close to downtown Ridgefield. It's a regular weekend event. We walk downtown, get coffee from Old Liberty. My son gets his haircut downtown. Bob at Bob's Automotive is amazing, so helpful every time my tire light is on. In really speaking to the businesses downtown, I think it's that underlying concern that we are putting an emphasis on business and growth at the exits. And we don't have the signage or the infrastructure now to promote downtown. So it's really finding a way, creating that balance so that we don't lose the charm of downtown. Ridgefield is one of the very few cities that actually has a historical functioning downtown. And I think that sets us apart from many other cities, and being able to preserve that. These are business owners, they're residents here in Ridgefield, and it's kind of scary for them, to the unknown, to think these bigger box chains are coming in and that they'll lose out on business. So finding that balance of at the freeway, but then also bringing it downtown, capitalizing on those natural resources and assets that we do have, the kayak ranch, the bed and breakfast that most people might not even know that we have right downtown. It is a beautiful place to stay. So really, yeah, just kind of building that emphasis and helping hear from those business owners on what they think. I mean, they're there, they're running their business, they know what will be helpful. So building that connection with them and really bringing in their voice in that process.
Thanks, Katie. Matt, what is special about downtown, and what role do you see yourself playing, capitalizing on that to promote Ridgefield as a place?
Yeah, I think what is really special about downtown is just being able to appreciate it for what it is. And what I mean by that is, I take my sons down there, we get a haircut. And after we get a haircut, we go across the street to the grocery store and we let them pick out a candy bar. And there's like something just uniquely like small townish Mayberry feeling about that I just love, right? It feels really good. And there's a lot of good things happening on the east end of town near the freeway, at Discovery Ridge, with all the new commercial development coming in there. And that's awesome. And I think there's a place for that. And I think the effort to keep downtown just downtown and make it about small business, make it about community, make it about feeling like you have a little slice of just community that you just get to embrace. If you've ever been down there on a Friday or Saturday night, with the Ridgefield Craft, having the food trucks out there, and there's kind of a glow and a buzz about it, but it's not a big magnanimous one. It's just a small vibe here. And I really like that. So I like being able to appreciate it for what it is. And in our master plan, we talk a lot about downtown revitalization. And I think a lot of times small businesses feel threatened by big commercial development coming in, and maybe worry about putting them out of business. And as a small business owner myself, I totally get that. But my hope is that the way that the city continues to develop is all of that commercial development has a place. And I'm hoping that all of that will funnel more people to come downtown and just enjoy it, and being able to have this beautiful setting here with the splash pad coming in, the library, the parks that are downtown, the waterfront that is going to be developed. All of those things I think are going to be really vital in maintaining that small town atmosphere and that really cool vibe that I think downtown has. So
great, thank you. Jake, you'll be first to respond this time to the question. Ridgefield's been the fastest growing city in the state for 6 years running. What can you do as a city councilor to help mitigate the impacts of growth and preserve our natural surroundings and resources?
Yeah, that's a great question. In the application, they asked what was our greatest, or what was Ridgefield's greatest strength and greatest challenge. And I think we talk about the historic small town feel, the charm is a strength, but I also think it's our biggest challenge because people want to be here. So growth is natural. I think I heard it best from, I think City Manager Stewart mentioned it on a call several weeks ago, that we can't stop the growth. I mean, people are going to come here, and that's great. We want to grow. We want to build the more business, and we want more residents here, but we can manage it properly. And I think that means having a lot of great conversations. I think that means putting our priorities at the top of the list at all times. And we know that's our nature, our wildlife, our trails. We know that's our downtown, as we just discussed. The growth is going to happen. I think I heard we're pushing 12,000 residents, which is crazy. I see it. I see why people want to be here. We all understand that it's such a special place. And so I think as a councilman, we have a great opportunity just to be at the table, to have those tough conversations, and to sometimes make the hard decision. And that doesn't maybe mean welcoming in every chain restaurant and fast food to town. That means, really managing our growth in a really thoughtful way, and making sure that we're sticking to those council goals, and that we're looking out, for the charm and the integrity of this place. And so that it doesn't become just another suburb of Portland. I'll be incredibly passionate about that. I want us to grow in the right ways. We want more shopping and restaurant options for all of our people. But again, we don't want to let the growth get out of hand. I think we touched on, Clark College campus is great. Having a YMCA is great. All those things help build and offer more resources to our citizens to increase the quality of life. But I will be an advocate to make sure that it's manageable growth, and that it's definitely a planning process is always in place, and that we don't give in to who we are, and that we don't change, our values and what makes this place so special.
Okay, thanks, Jake. Katie, the city's been the fastest growing in the state for 6 years running. What can you do as a city councilor to mitigate the impacts of growth and preserve our natural surroundings and resources?
Like Jake was saying, growth is inevitable. We're going to grow. We can't stop it. But I think there is a very delicate balance that needs to happen during that growth, and being able to support the growth extends more than just new developments and businesses. This growth impacts our fire department. It impacts our police department. It impacts our school district. It impacts many various things outside of just the financials that are coming in. And all of those things are crucial to the development and the sustainability of Ridgefield. And I think when we forget to leave those things out, we're leaving out and not supporting literally thousands of children and thousands of people that are here in Ridgefield, that come to Ridgefield for those specific. We want people here because we have great schools. We want people here because we have an amazing police department that plays a larger role in our community, keeping us safe. So really making sure that we are looking at all aspects and doing a thorough job, due diligence, and looking at every single detail as we roll out these plans for the growth to happen.
Thanks, Katie. Matt, what can you do as a city councilor to mitigate the impacts of 6 consecutive years of growth in a way to preserve our natural surroundings and resources?
Well, I think it's really about a balanced approach, right? If you look at the way our city has just exploded, last year adding 10 new neighborhoods to the city, and this year probably another 7, and what that does to our population, adding thousands of more residents, and making sure that the city, grows, our community grows in proportion to the balance of one another. That means infrastructure, making sure that we have the roads and utilities and everything that can support all those new homes, which I know is being thought of. But on top of that is making sure our schools can withstand the burgeoning population here. And gosh, we got to get that darn school bond passed so we can get a new elementary school up here, because otherwise we will be crowded out. So that's going to be a big thing. And I think there's a lot of discussions that the city can have with the school district and be involved in that process and be advocating for it, because I think it's really a need. And then additionally, where we have commercial areas, I think that one of the best things over the last few years is seeing just the commercial explosion that's happened here. You might not think that adding a Papa Murphy's is a big deal, but I think that goes a long way to people who want to call this place home, to feeling like there's commercial infrastructure to support them. And so, our city leaders have done a really good job of creating some detailed, plans for the long term. And I think it's just sticking to those plans and making sure that we flex when necessary, because there is going to be parts where we have to flex, but finding ways that we can make sure that each part of our growth kind of grows in balance with the other. So residential, commercial, infrastructure, and then all of the community resources that come with it. And so as long as we can do that, then our growth won't seem so sudden and seem so sporadic and maybe uncontrollable. I think it's going to be making sure that we're in tune with our community partnerships and the people who live here in general to keep a pulse on how we grow and where we need to flex when necessary.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Darcy, fastest growing city in the state for 6 years. What can you do as a city councilor to help mitigate the impacts of the growth and preserve our natural surroundings and resources?
One of the things that I have been most impressed with is the quality of the staff, the administrative staff in the city of Ridgefield. We have such expertise that are helping make decisions. The decisions are being made based on data, based on research, and based on what's best for this community. So I think one of the most important things for us to do is to continue to value that expertise that we've got right here. And I think that, as everyone has said, growth needs to be planful. And I've been impressed by the fact that when I go through the city council meetings, I listen to them. I don't go, but I love the fact that there's audio tapes. When I listen to those meetings, I hear the attention to detail whenever they talk about adding a new development, a neighborhood development, when they talk about commercial development, there's so much attention paid to the impact, the infrastructure that's needed. And so I think that that's what we just have to keep doing. It can't be random. It can't be spontaneous. It has to be, all of this growth has to be based on careful planning, careful research, and taking advantage of the expertise that we have right here in this city.
Great. Thank you, Darcy. For the next question, as a city council member, how do you see yourself being involved in the community other than at council meetings? And this is trying to get at other than some of those activities that you're already connected with. And Katie, you're first on this question.
I really love our community and engaging, and I just really see myself diving a little bit deeper and expanding that network that I already have. I think transparency, communication, and fierce advocacy is crucial to council members and to our community. The community wants to know who is serving them, who has our back, so to speak. Do they have our best interest? And when you're able to build those connections within the community, when you're getting out there, serving your community and serving them well, those relationships will come with that. And those relationships will be key to the development of your position as city council, but then also that relationship with the community that will be crucial.
Okay. Thank you, Katie. Matt, as a city council member, how do you see yourself being involved in the community other than at council meetings?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it'd be really easy to say, oh, I'm gonna go to council meeting every other week, and I'll do the policy wonk stuff and get involved with that, and that check that box. But I don't think that anybody here, any of the 4 people here, or anybody who's on council today, really see their job as that. I think that the job is much bigger than that. It is being in tune with the community. When I joined the budget advisory committee last fall, Kurt Johnson, the finance director of the city, he told me something that was so small, but it stuck with me. And it's something I think of often is he says, hey, one of the things we want you to do is not just participate in these discussions and make sure we have a citizen voice on this, but it'd be great if you're out in the community talking about these things, moving these things forward. And I took that to heart. I thought, well, nobody really wants to go and talk about budgets at your neighborhood barbecue, but ways to champion what the city is doing, how we're helping our community grow. I mean, I think that's really what the essence of that comment was. And so getting outside of the council chambers, getting to a Raptors game, getting to Richfield Craft on a Friday night, and just hearing citizens, hearing people talk, and just being in relationship with people, I think is the best way. I don't think it means another board seat or another committee to be involved with, or any sort of other thing like that. I think sometimes it's just as simple as being present and listening, and then being a participant and saying, hey, we're going to take that information, and when we go back to council, then we're going to take what we heard over the weekend or at that other event, and applying that to the decisions we make at council. So it's really, to me, that simple.
Darcy, as a city council member, how do you see yourself being involved other than at council meetings?
Well, I think it's important that council members represent organizations throughout the community. And I know that some are appointed to be a liaison to those committees, and some just go because that's their interest. But I think it's critical to find out where there's maybe a lack of representation. And I'm happy to be a part of an organization that maybe I have not been involved with before. I think that's really important because the council members all report back to each other and to the city about what those organizations are doing and what their needs are. So I'm guessing that will happen, and I think that's really important. I loved what Matt said about going out to the neighborhood barbecue and talking about finance, but those opportunities actually are, I think, really important. I loved a few years ago, there was an event at the Rourke. I love it. It's called the Rourke. Anyway, there was an event at the Rourke where they had all kinds of booths set up where you could go and hear someone talk about the bond issue at the time that was coming up. You could go and and there were people that had expertise in those different areas. And it was a great way to just walk around and learn about the community. So I don't know if they have those events every year, but I thought it was a great idea and would be happy to be involved in that kind of thing.
Thank you. Jake, as a city council member, how would you see yourself being involved in the community other than at council meetings?
Thanks, John. I think half of leadership really is truly showing up. I've seen in a lot of different settings, leadership opportunities, a lot of boards, student senate, people go through the motion, show up to the meeting once a month, show up to the bi-weekly meeting, and that's great. You can give input, you can add value to conversations, but you're not really getting the pulse of your constituents. So I think showing up and having availability. For me, I value my lifestyle of work from home, and that means I can be downtown at lunch for a ribbon cutting, or that means I can be at a Lions volunteer event. And as we've all touched on, being available and telling people about your role. People need to know that one of us is a council member and that we have a voice to share, that we can sit at the table and we can offer feedback and we can give real life examples. Showing up to the bond meeting, be an advocate for our children in the schools is not just saying, hey, vote yes on whatever date, but actually showing up and having the conversation and being there and wearing the shirt and going door to door and being a real advocate. And I think that's what's crucial. And I think a community like us deserves that in its council members. And, things like I'm part of a group. They meet once a month at Ridgefield Craft for Guys Night. I go there on a night that I'm not working, and it's mostly Ridgefield citizens, but it's just a chance for guys to get together and talk about life and parenting and kids, and but also what's going on in the community. And right now there's a lot of action in Ridgefield. So whether we're talking to the new CEO of the port, or we're talking about the new white church and how cool that's going to be, the Surface family's putting together there. It's just, I think showing up, it sounds easy, but I think until you get in the position and you can show action, I think that's where the value of this question will shine, and whichever one of us moves forward. But again, I'll be the first to show up and be a part of everything I can.
Thanks, Jake. So what ideas would you bring to council to increase engagement by citizens of Ridgefield on projects or issues facing council? Matt, I believe you're first on this question.
That's the hardest question yet. I'm going to go first. Okay. What ideas would I bring to council to bring more citizen engagement? My business, I work in branding, right? And we spend a lot of time working with companies talking about who they are and how they're positioned in a certain market and how they communicate outwardly. And I think really this challenge, not that it's solely based on this, but it's in a way a branding effort, right? How do we communicate about what we're doing to make it compelling, to make people want to be a part of it, but also, just continuing to find ways to reach people where they're at. Ridgefield Roundtable is a great example of that. If you haven't gotten on there, I just registered recently myself, but like looking at all the products there and how the city is very proactive about getting people involved in that, or the city's social media presence is incredible. Actually, for a small town, we do a really great job because you see that they're putting a lot of information out and they're soliciting information back from the community, feedback from the community. So I think it's just really like taking that and figuring out, a way to continue that dialogue, to keep it going, to make sure that we're transparent. We have a transparent and open government, and that we invite people in to weigh in on things and get them involved. I think when people start to feel ownership over those things, when you create opportunities where they can feel ownership over them, they're gonna be the first ones to the table, the first ones to get involved. And I think that really, we talk a lot about like what is the role of council, and we say, okay, we're supposed to lead the vision of the city and we're supposed to act as a legislative body, but also we're supposed to champion some of the things we're going for here and make it compelling for people to want to come out and have those discussions about where the city's going. Jake talked about not just about showing up, not just talking about the bond initiative, but showing up to the bond rallies and being there to be a vocal advocate for where the city's going and help improve it.
Thanks, Matt. Darby, what ideas would you bring to council to increase engagement by the citizens of Ridgefield on projects or issues facing council?
Well, that is a huge challenge. And I think maybe one of the main reasons people aren't engaged or don't become engaged in the community is because they just don't know. They're unaware of the issues. They're unaware of impact. They're unaware of how their opinion can make a difference. So I think to continue on, I think the city has done a good job of providing opportunities for people to gather and learn about what's going on, learn about what the issues are, learn about what the concerns are. And, sometimes it's a town hall. Sometimes it's that event I talked about at the Rourke where there were tables where you could go around and learn about things. I just think there need to be more of those kinds of opportunities, because I think the more people understand what the issues are and understand what their voice can mean in maybe solving the problem, I think that they will become more engaged. So I agree with what's been said so far. I agree, being a true partner with the school district so that bond issue can be passed and people understand why it needs to be passed. It's interesting when you read the comments from people who voted against the bond, it's obvious that they don't understand the issues that are involved. They don't understand the growth and they don't understand the impact. So I just think it's a matter of education and figuring out a way to get that word out into the community so that people will understand and want to participate.
Thank you, Darcy. Jake, what are your ideas to increase engagement by the citizens for issues and projects of council?
I've read about a few initiatives the city's doing that are great. We've talked about recording these meetings. Not everyone can make it. The last few meetings I've attended, it seems like there's 2 or 3 things happening in the city that I want to be at, but we obviously have our obligations. But I think tonight there was a school board, our school bond meeting, perhaps. But that's just the nature of what's going to go on with a lot of things happening in the community. I saw the partnership with CGI Communications. I think the city did an incredible job with the State of the City address. I loved the interactive piece of how they're out in the community and highlighting a lot of components. I think, like I said, a lot of people here probably haven't experienced, maybe the trails, maybe haven't been downtown. People are busy with their lives, raising kids, going to work. that can create a lot of apathy, and people going about their days, and they're going to go to Rose Hours, and they're going to come home, and they're going to go to soccer practice. And I think you got to incentivize people, and you got to share with people that we have, a kayak paddleboard launch downtown, and that's a great resource, and that there's, events rallied around that. Raptors games and Spudders football probably attract the largest controlled crowds in our city. And so making sure that we're leveraging that space to meet people where they are, like Matt said, is making announcements and highlighting things that are going on so we can drive attendance. I think Main Street Group downtown's done an amazing job with the Main Street Moolah, getting people to give back to local businesses and to do their business downtown. Something like that could drive traffic to our small businesses and maybe expand that program. But again, it's kind of like the last question. It's part of it is showing up, and maybe you can do as many Facebook posts as you want. You can do as many announcements, but maybe it's our job to say, all right, I'm taking, these two friends to this next city council meeting so they can hear what's going on, and really doing our part to lead that charge. So incentivizing people, again, we need to really push people downtown, because I think that's when people really fall in love with this place. And so anything we can do to do that, and utilizing our large crowds when we have them is we have 30 something home games at the Raptors, and that's a great opportunity for the city to push initiatives and events and things that are happening.
Thank you, Jake. Katie, what are the ideas that you'd bring to council to increase engagement by the citizens of the city on projects or issues facing council?
I feel like I am here for this question as a social worker. That is my job, is to get people connected, empowering them with their voice, and letting them know their thoughts matter. And how do we bring people to the table? This is just what I do, bringing people to the table. So I think using every single opportunity that you have when you're engaging with people in the community, whether it's at the grocery store, whether you're at a restaurant, at a Raptors game, or even a Ridgefield high school football game. Those football games are insane, and it gives you so much opportunity to meet different people, to talk to them. And I think sometimes your presence just matters, knowing who you are. And I think sometimes people will hear like city council or the mayor, and they want to give them these pressing issues, thinking that if I tell you this, things are going to change immediately. So it's also taking ownership as a council member to kind of relay back, like, I appreciate you sharing this information with me, and not giving those people a false sense of hope that things will change immediately with that information. It's really making sure that they know that they can have a partnership and a relationship with you, and that their voice is heard and matters, and that you're going to be able to champion their voice, whatever that concern or suggestion it is that they have. I think being able to kind of have like a hub in Ridgefield of like what's going on that we can point people to, whether it's social media, a little newsletter, enhancing some of the communication strategies that we already have. And then also focusing outside of Pioneer and Hillhurst. This is where the most growth is happening, but Ridgefield extends beyond that. We're by the fairgrounds. We're almost all the way out to Battlegrounds. So focusing on the areas that aren't just right here in the heart of downtown, we are extending out. So making sure that we can get out to those people as well.
Thank you, Katie. As each of you are considered for appointment to the council, and it sounds like on your application you had a little experience handling this question, but what do you see as the city's greatest challenge? And Darcy, we're going to begin with you on this question.
Yeah, I thought a lot about that when I was filling out the application. Clearly, managing growth is probably the biggest challenge this city has to face. But along with that managing growth, then there's the huge challenge of overcrowded schools, of just not of the infrastructure that is not going to be able to support that the many more people that are coming in. So that is the challenge, and it's huge, and it has so many different facets to it. So I've been impressed, as I said before, so far with attention to detail and the using the expertise of the staff to help make the challenging decisions that have to be made. The planning commission, oh my gosh, they're the ones that are absolutely analyzing that data related to growth and helping us make decisions that are going to be in the best interest of now and in the future. So yeah, it's the growth.
Thank you. Jake, as you consider the appointment to council, what do you see as the city's greatest challenge?
I touched on it earlier, like you said, John, and not to repeat what Darcy said, but I think it's we have to plan for the inevitable, and that is going to be a flood of people really desiring to live in an amazing community. And we can't be selfish. We know people are going to come here, and we have to manage that properly. We have to plan properly. I think we intentionally need to offer the resources that a community needs to grow in the right ways, and that is the school bond. So there is, new construction for all of our young people. That means higher education and having an option like Clark College. I touched on, growing commercially in the right ways, that we bring in, new restaurant options and healthcare and so forth, but that we don't dilute the pot, and we don't, cannibalize our small businesses. All of that attention to detail and thought as we plan for the future is so critical. I mean, we talked about the growth in the last several years and where we're headed. And we all that said, while retaining that historic charm, making sure we keep this place special and we preserve the history. That'll be a huge challenge. But I think with the right people in this meeting and the people on council currently, we all love this place. So I have all the faith in the world that anyone in this group, and that our council that exists, and our city manager and our mayor and all the staff, I think, everybody cares about where we are and that keeping this place special. And I'll look forward to being able to be a part of that as well.
Great. Thanks, Jake. Katie, as a councilor, what will you see as the city's greatest challenge?
I feel like I'm piggybacking, but yes, it is the growth. I think that is just the underlying concern that so many people have had, and not necessarily even a concern. Some people are very excited for the growth. We've had people that have been living here for a very long time, their whole life, and it is a concern to them that their property, their farms, their land is seen as disposable in some regards with the new developments that are coming in. But then we also have new families coming in that are just so excited about the growth and being able to be a part of a larger community that's growing. So, it's a delicate balance. We want to have a small town charm in a very big city. So we have to make sure that the decisions that we're making, the things that we're doing, it's a delicate balance, being able to connect with the community and securing the infrastructure, because that is what's going to make all the change sustainable, putting a focus on our schools. And like I said earlier, our police and our fire department, the calls that they get, the amount of community that they're serving is growing, and the department is growing slowly with it, but we can't leave them out either.
Okay. Thanks, Katie. Matt, is growth the greatest challenge for the city as you see it?
Yeah, definitely managing that growth has got to be one of our chief priorities. That's huge. My son just got home. Definitely managing that growth. But more than that, like what does that actually look like? Are we building complete communities, right? Like, do we have school systems that support that? Do we have neighborhoods that come up that support that? Is there adequate commercial enterprises that are coming here to support that as well? And I think one thing that we haven't talked about tonight, but I think it's going to be a big deal is what does keeping employment inside the city look like? How do we refrain from continuing to be a bedroom community and become our own community with our own jobs and where we can support that? I think there's a lot of, if you talk to your neighbors, I have a lot of neighbors, Jake and myself included, where we work from home. I have a neighbor behind me. He's a software developer. There's all those types of like highly skilled jobs here in the city. and making sure that we are attracting those types of jobs too, that skilled labor, where people have careers in tech, where they feel like they can thrive here, that they don't have to go across the river or even just downtown Vancouver to do that, that they can keep that within our community. Because when you can live and work in the same community, I think that you are more likely to take ownership over that community and help foster the growth. I mean, it takes everybody taking ownership over that. And so really kind of embracing that comprehensive vision that has been laid out for the city and incorporating all of those things into our efforts to help manage that growth.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Before we move on, I have to both congratulate and thank you all for being the most responsive and cordial panel I've ever moderated, especially in the political realm. And you have been so responsive. We have a few extra minutes this evening. I've been following the chat. There are no additional questions that have been submitted. So at this time, and before I go into the closing remarks, each of you will have 2 minutes to make closing remarks. And Darcy, you're up first for your closing remarks.
Okay. Well, thank you for a very enjoyable evening to start with. And I have to say that if I was picking a council member for the Ridgefield City Council, I would pick any of those other 3 candidates. What an outstanding group of people. And it's very encouraging to know that our community is filled with people who care and are leaders and want to be a part of everything that's happening. So I just wanted to say that. I just wanted, I guess my wrap up would be that I have a lot of energy. I'm a hard worker. I really like getting involved. I don't mind doing the hard stuff. That's something I've had to do my entire career. And so I look forward to that. I look forward to being a part of the process of this city continuing to become who they are going to be with the growth that's happening. And you know what? There are so many ways to get involved in this community that I am absolutely committed to being a part of this community's growth, whether it be on the city council or in any other organization. So thanks.
Thank you, Darcy. Matt, your closing comments?
Yes. I would say the same thing. I think the council has a big challenge ahead of them in choosing between one of the 4 of us tonight. One of this doing this on Zoom is a really cool way to do that, but I almost kind of regret it because everyone here, we didn't get to know really get to know each other before we got online tonight. But I mean, any one of these people I think would be fun to go grab a beer with and talk about the different things that are going on in our town. And if this is the kind of caliber of people that we're attracting to be involved in our city government, then I am nothing but optimistic about the direction we're headed. And voters, by the way, you have a big challenge to make in our next local election too, because I think they're going to be forced to choose between some of these same candidates right here. And that's a great thing. There's an old saying that says there's no limit to how far you can go as long as you don't care who gets the credit, right? I think that good government, good leadership really begins at the most local of levels, and it doesn't get any more local than this, right? We're at an interesting time just nationally in our country and what's going on in the world, where we see all this division and all this strife happening. But you know what? It doesn't have to be that way, because we can model what we want good government to look like, and we can model what good community looks like, and we can interact with each other. We can share ideas. And, I'm really looking forward to that. I said it at the beginning, I think that you should serve in areas where you think that you are not just because you want to, but because you think you have the skill to serve there. And, that's one thing I've tried to do in my life and business and in my own involvements and stuff is just to find areas where I can contribute that I know I'm good at. And I think this would be a definite area where I would love to, give it a go and be a participant in shaping our city, because we have a really good thing going. And the key will be just making sure we stay the course and we really manage it well, and we keep our eyes on the prize, which is good, healthy, strong community that it lives in balance and harmony with one another. So I thank you again for everybody for having me on this tonight, and for everybody who showed up to listen for a little bit.
Thanks, Matt. Katie, your closing thoughts.
Thank you. This has been one of the funnest experiences I have ever had. I was so nervous. And when Julie emailed and was like, you need to have like a introduction and closing, I'm like, girl, what are you even talking about? I don't even know what that is. But I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited to meet all of you. And I agree. I think I feel so confident that of any of the candidates on this call tonight are going to serve our community, and they're going to serve it well. Ridgefield, whether I am just a resident or I continue to participate in various different things, or I'm on city council, I'm going to be here and I'm going to continue to engage in our community. I'm here for the people. I'm here for our families, our friends, our businesses that are here. And I think, just being able to be with people and to have them feel deeper rooted in their community makes strong communities. And when we have strong communities, we have strong, healthy families within that community. We have whatever family looks like. We have multi-generational families. We have multicultural families. We have all different kinds of families that are here in Ridgefield that make us unique, make our community unique. So really just being here to champion the people of Ridgefield. I'm excited, and I'm so excited. And I just thank you all so much. Thank you for moderating. Thank you, Julie, for getting this all set up. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Katie. Jake, you're the last one. Your thoughts.
With pleasure. Thank you, John and Julie, for everything you've done for this. Katie, Darcy, Matt, this is a credible group. So I'm just honored to be a part of the group and to be at the table. And, I think each of us can do an incredible job. So that's incredibly exciting for the city. One quote that makes me think of just leadership and this opportunity is leadership's not being about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in your charge. And I see the citizens of Ridgefield as our charge, and the people that we get to serve for whoever gets this position. And I'd love to be somebody at the table who gets to take care of those in our charge and our people. I'm interested in the vacancy because I know I'll be a strong council member. I really care about the future of this community, and I want to preserve that rich history and charm that we've talked about endlessly. I want to lend my skill set and abilities towards proactive policy, fiscal responsibility, and providing all the services that our people need. I'll be active. Like I said, I'll show up. I'll be active in all city affairs and events while representing the council with absolute professionalism and dedication. I want to represent the young families buying their first home to those who have enjoyed generations and decades of residency in Ridgefield. I'll support our nature, our businesses, and the people. And I will uphold the code of conduct for council members and treat everyone with respect and dignity. Simply put, I'm here because I love Ridgefield, Washington. Now, that's the most important reason for me being here, and it would be an honor to serve in a council role. I have to give a go Cougs, go Spuds, go Raptors, and thank you all for your time.
I want to thank each of you, not only for your thoughtful responses this evening, but for your willingness to serve the city of Ridgefield in such a public way. In closing, I want to encourage all who are listening to email any feedback to our city clerk, Julie Ferris, at an email address I think Julie is going to share right now. So that's city.clerk@ridgefieldwa.us. As far as next steps, council, who, as you heard earlier this evening, is very interested in watching and reviewing this evening's forum, has set April 28th as the date for the candidate interviews by council, and after which council will choose the appointee, and the successful the successful candidate will be sworn into office that evening. So everyone gets to take a breath or two between now and April 28th, and then you'll be back on the proverbial hot seat. So thank you again for your willingness to serve. Thank you for all those who have watched this evening or will be watching as this video is posted. So with that, Everyone be safe and have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody.